Rose Martin, and this is Real Life with our very favorite life coach, Susan Harf, who offers us tips and strategies and solutions to everyday problems and things we get ourselves into. Like you, I can't wait to hear what's on her mind today. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Rose. I'm happy to see you, and I'm so glad you joined us as well. Today, we're talking about what happens when people ask too much of you. Always asking.
And always thinking, I can't do one more thing, or I don't want to answer the phone because I know that there's going to be someone with a request for something.
Yeah. And the thing is, Rose, is that we teach other people, we train them how to regard us. We teach other people by the way we regard ourselves. And so we always know who is it, or I should say they always know who to ask. They ask the person who seems to be more passive, seems to be less assertive, and seems to be the one that's most likely to say yes every time.
But sometimes isn't it that you just want to be kind?
Yeah, sometimes it is. You just want to be kind, but we need to, you know me, we got to unpack why that is.
Okay, let's drill it down.
And unfortunately, too often, we leave ourselves out of the equation when we say yes. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help people. There's nothing wrong with saying yes when we want to. There is something wrong with saying yes when we do so because we want to please the other person and we're leaving our own needs out of the equation, and we're doing it too often.
Or we're doing it out of guilt, or maybe so someone else doesn't get mad.
Whenever we say yes, and it's for any other reason other than this is something I want to do, then there's a problem.
Oh, any other reason. Okay.
The Susan Harf thing to do is to say to ourselves, why am I saying yes when I want to say no? And so that where we need to begin is how do we regard ourselves and what do we let other people know about us? So one of the things we need to let them know is that our time is valuable and that we're valuable to ourselves and we know to them. So we're flattered when people ask us to help them. We're flattered that they believe we can do it. But we don't always believe that we necessarily should say yes. And so those are the times that we need to instead say no, and we need to understand when those times are and how often.
Well, I'm thinking maybe intuitively we know if someone is overwhelmed and really needs our help and we can help them, or if this is a situation that they're just asking me to do their job again, or take that responsibility for that committee again because they don't want to do it.
I don't even get bogged down in those questions. I don't even try and figure out why they're asking me. I don't even try and figure out, well, do they really need my help or not? What I do is I figure out if I want to do it.
You're good.
Well,
You're good.
but that's because I value my time as much as I do theirs, and so it's a mutual thing. I'm saying yes or no for both of us. So I can't decide if someone else has run out of time. And I used to say to my children if they had forgotten their homework, your last minute effort or your lack of effort is not going to become my problem. That's not to say that if the child is normally responsible and they do the right thing, that I wouldn't bring the homework to them, and I have done that.
And I've heard something similar. Your emergency is not my crisis, or your crisis is not my emergency.
Absolutely. And again, it depends on the situation, it depends on the person. Moreover, it depends on how I feel about that ask. So one of the things that happens is some people just can't get it together. They're too busy. And when I say too busy, they're no busier than the rest of us, but they say they're too busy, or they don't make the time necessary that they needed to get it done or to get the various things that they needed done. So then it becomes somebody else's crisis or somebody else's problem. But it doesn't have to be yours. So instead of trying to evaluate whether it's a rightful ask kind of thing, instead of doing that, what I do instead is I say to myself, is this something that I want to say yes to? And chances are, if I want to do something, I will make the time to do it. It's not a matter of I don't have the time. And it certainly should not be a situation where we give a million excuses, because number one, you don't owe anybody an excuse for anything. But number two, you're giving them a path with which to take advantage of you. If they say to you, can you make 5 dozen cookies for the school sale? And you say, I would love to, but I can't because I have 2 doctor's appointments tomorrow and I have to run some errands. They may say, well, what errands do you have to run? Maybe I could get that done for you and then you can make the cookies. Well, actually, the errands that I have to run, I actually have to do that. Is it possible you could do it on a different day? I mean, the person who's asking, believe me when I tell you, they will come up with a million reasons why you could say yes to them. So we need to be in charge of our responses and know that we don't need to give anybody else an explanation. The only person that we need to satisfy here is us.
What if you're not sure which way you want to go, how you want to answer? So maybe you just want some more information because you don't even know what the ask entails.
Exactly, very good question and good answer. You don't know what it entails necessarily. And so what we need to do in those situations is we need to sit back and we need to say, I can't give you an answer now, but I will think about it and I will get back to you. That's a perfectly legitimate answer to somebody who is asking something of you. Another thing that's good to do if they're not right in front of you, if they've sent you an email or if they're knocking on your door, sometimes we need solitude. And usually I'm sort of an open door kind of person when I'm in my office, but if I have something that I need to do, and I need to do it now, and I don't want to be interrupted, I will close my door. I will become unavailable for the amount of time that I want to be unavailable. So just because I don't have a client at that moment does not mean that I don't need to do paperwork, or maybe I need to make a phone call, or maybe I need to do something else that would preclude me from being able to talk with you, my coworker, if you need to speak with me. So if my door's closed, that means I'm attending to something that I need to do.
What about if it's a family member or it's a neighbor, a really good friend?
If it's somebody that you usually want to say yes to, then you say yes. But if you find yourself saying yes too much, that can happen in a number of different instances. It can happen when the ask is for one thing at a time, and it's not a barrage of requirements or requests that are being asked of you. It happens so slowly and not at the same time that it can pile up. So that's happened to me where someone has said, can you do this on Monday? And I say yes. And then a little later they say, on Wednesday, the group is meeting such and such, can you meet with us? Well, I've already said yes to the first thing.
When the questions seem to be coming at you, and maybe it all doesn't happen at the very same time, right? It might be slow, but yet deliberate.
Exactly. And so the person is not giving you a barrage of requests right now, but instead they're saying to you, I'd like you to do something for me on Monday. Can you do that? Sure. And now we have a meeting coming up on Wednesday, and we need to all be there. Are you available for that meeting? Sure. And by the way, that meeting is going to sort of go late, so Thursday morning we're going to reconvene. Now, all of a sudden, that same person is asking you 3, 4, 5 different things when one would have been okay, but no, I can't devote my entire week to this one committee. So what we need to do there is we need to, instead of, if this is something that you have anticipated, and usually we can anticipate something like that happening because it's the same people who do that. You anticipate that and you say, you know what, I can do that, but I just need to tell you I have a full week coming up. So even though I said yes to Monday, I'm not going to be able to follow it up with subsequent meetings during the week. Is that okay with you? So that's one way of handling it. Another way is I didn't really know that this was going to turn into a week-long project. So again, like sort of taking on the responsibility of I'm not all-knowing. I said yes, but now I may need to even renege. Maybe I need to say, yes, I can do Monday, but I can't make it turn into Tuesday as well. So there are a number of different ways to handle requests that happen sort of coming at you all at once or subsequent questions. But all of those ways have to deal with I'm first and my needs need to come first. and I can't always say yes to everything that you ask me.
Okay, but what if you say yes, and then it becomes either too much or too big, or too time consuming? Then do you say no, or do you go back on your word after you've already said that you would do something?
I know I said yes, but I need to say no. Or I'd like to say yes, but I need to say no. I know I said I could do that, but now I've evaluated the situation, and unfortunately I've come to a different conclusion. One of the things that makes us change our mind is when we find out that the ask is really not the sum total of the ask. So for instance, let's say we have a relative that is in some way needy, and we're all there. We're all needy at some point in our lives. And let's say one of the issues is that neediness or loneliness. And so they're asking you to do a number of tasks for them, but frankly, what they really want is your company or the company of others. So you can say, you know what, I have an hour every week. Let's plan when we're going to get together. Maybe we can have lunch together. Maybe it's longer than an hour. Maybe we can have lunch together every Thursday. How is that for you? And then they can look forward to that, and so can you. And it doesn't end up being, can you go to the drugstore for me? Can you take me to the supermarket? Can you also take me to the doctor's? Can you take me to the library? Are you available? It becomes an all-consuming kind of questioning and tasking, when in fact the person may just need the company of other people. And then, in addition to, can we meet every Thursday for lunch? Or instead of, you may say, have you thought about meeting with other women who are also quilters? Have you thought about a book group? You love to read books, and I know many people would love to join you in that. So in other words, sometimes helping people problem solve can help you get out of having to say yes when you want to say no, because the truth is, what makes us do that is we want to be kind, like you said at the beginning. We want to be kind, we want to be open, we want to be helpful. But we need to make sure that that coincides with our needs to get our own life done. Because I know people who say yes to the point where they don't get their life done. And then that is not good for them or the other people.
Right, and I'm thinking, as you're mentioning the other needs that might be really behind all those asks, so then sometimes you're just the automatic first ask for anything, right?
Exactly.
So when you said about going to the book club or going to quilting or doing some things of other interest, then you're not necessarily the first person they call for anything and everything.
Exactly. And like I said before, one of the things we want to do when we do say no is to not offer an excuse, or not try and with guilt assign responsibility that is yours to take to somebody else. So along those lines, I want to just mention a couple things. I'm calling this the assertive Bill of Rights. It has to do with what we need to be, these are things we need to be thinking about when people ask us questions, and just relative to mutuality in relationships. Okay, so one of the things that we do is we only have the right to judge our own behavior, and other people don't have the right to judge ours. And that really has a lot to do with, judging has a lot to do with how often they ask us to do things for them. We are in charge of our life, and they're in charge of theirs. And so therein lies the guilt. The responsibility taking needs to be for our own decision making. That also has to do with mutuality in relationships, because if we have a relationship that's not mutual, in other words, they're doing all the asking and you are never asking, and it's not a mutual relationship relative to, well, yes, we both care about each other, but you seem to care more about your life, and as you should, but not caring about me when I say I care about my life too. Another point along the assertive Bill of Rights is you have the right, as I said earlier, not to justify your behavior. So you don't need to give somebody reasons why you're saying no when you do say no. And when you do say yes, And let's say somebody is asking you to help them find a solution. And let's say you give them your idea of a solution. Then you have the right to say, did you use my solution? Now they may say no, but you have the right to ask. So if somebody asks you for your time, and somebody says to you, I want your time and I want your thought, and I want your experience here, because they're not asking you your opinion if they're not asking, obviously they believe that you have the experience to give them the answer. Then when you do that, you have the right to say, did you try it? How did it work out? So some people believe it's my life, so even if I ask you what to do, I don't need to take your advice. That's true, you don't need to take my advice, but you need to let me know, did that work for you? And if you didn't take my advice, how come? Because if you took my time and you asked me those questions, and of course it didn't take 1 minute to do that, then I need to know, was my time well spent? And I have the right to do that.
That's interesting, because some people ask everybody for ideas and solutions before they make any decision.
Correct.
or do any action whatsoever. So, and I don't know how many of us, myself included, actually ever go back and actually say that. How did it work for you? Did you do that? Did you try it?
And here's where I draw the line with that. I draw the line when they're asking me to engage another person. So when somebody says to me, if a client says to me, I need a good divorce lawyer, and I know a good divorce lawyer, and I know a lot about their situation if they're my client, so I may give them the suggestion of somebody that I think is the particular right person for them. And then if they say, would you call them for me? They're not taking any clients. Would you be kind enough to call them? If I go to that extent, then I will say to the person, I'm willing to call if you know you're going to use them. I am not going to ask someone to now engage their time and the structure of their day involving you, who they don't even know, but they know me, and they're willing to do this for me, for you. Then I'm asking you to make the decision that you're not asking a lot of other people. You're asking me, and I'm giving you I'm engaging somebody for you, and I expect you to use that person.
And so you let them know that right up front.
I absolutely let them know. And if they choose not, if they say, well, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to ask them, other people, then I say that I'm not going to be involved in recommending someone. The other thing is that we have the right to change our mind. So I know I said yes, but I need to say no. I was one for that with my children. There are times when they asked me to do something, and they asked me if they could do something. And I thought it seemed very innocuous, and I said sure. And then I decided, you know what, it's too much to do for a variety of reasons. Maybe it was too much to do in one day. Maybe I believed, it wasn't usually because I thought it was inappropriate. It was more that I felt like it was taking too much of their time when they had a million other things going on, or whatever it is. I ended up saying, I know I said yes, but I want to say no now. And as adults, dealing with adults, we have perfect right to say that.
You know, that's a really important lesson to learn, that you can change your mind if you need to for any reason, but not necessarily even given an explanation as to why. That you don't have to say why.
We have the right to change our mind, and we have the right to not think what you think about that. We have the right to say, you think that's the greatest actress and you want to go to that movie, and I'm never going to go to that movie, and that's okay.
It's like, your opinion is none of my business.
Exactly. Your opinion is none of my business. And sometimes your opinion of me is none of my business. If somebody decides whatever it is, the decision that they've made, and I don't agree with that decision, that's okay. You absolutely have the right to have that decision and to choose to do that behavior. That doesn't mean that I would choose the same behavior given that circumstance. I may choose that decision in a different circumstance. But we all have the right to live our own lives, and we have the right to determine who we're going to say yes to, who we're going to say no to, and to change that up. There are times when when I have more time to say yes. There are times when I have the willingness to say yes. Sometimes I say no because I really don't want to do it.
And
I don't want to do that.
And that's okay.
And that is absolutely, perfectly okay. I don't choose to do that. I don't choose to spend my time that way.
And that again is a really hard lesson to learn, but once you do it, I almost think it's freeing to then you're putting yourself first and your needs first to know that, I can make that decision and I can say no and I don't have to give the reason, and it's okay. It's okay to change my mind, and it's okay to say no to people.
And you know what people tell me all the time? When they went along with the group think, when they did the option because everybody else was doing that option, most of the time they are unhappy with that choice.
Really?
Because if your motivation is to be liked, or for someone to think you're not difficult, or for someone to think you're easy, or if someone thinks you're easy to get along with in that way, and so therefore you say something that you really didn't mean, like, sure, I want to go there, then you end up spending all that time on something that it really was not worthwhile for you. And it was because you did not have the capability of being assertive at that moment. And that too can change. If the thing you need to do in that instance is you need to recognize that that's what you did. And then you need to own it. So in other words, someone says to me, would you like to present at an all-day workshop, and you will be presenting for most of the day. And let's say I really love presenting on that topic. So my immediate answer is, sure, I'd love to do that. And then I think about, well, do I really want to tie up an entire day doing that with that group or with that workshop? Do I really want to tie up my entire day? And sometimes the reason I say yes first is because I haven't given myself the amount of time that I needed to think it through. And also think about the parameters of what was on either side of that day. Maybe I didn't look at my calendar and realize, well, I'm presenting for an entire day the day before and an entire day the next day, and I really don't want to be presenting 3 days in a row. Or I don't want to be with the same group for 3 days. Whatever it is, if I don't give myself the opportunity to really think about, well, what is it that I want? What do I want? What is the best course of action for me? And usually people say they do that when they don't give themselves time to think, or there's a part of it that they want.
So I love this, because what I'm hearing you say is you don't have to have an immediate response just because you get a question or you get an ask. Give yourself time to evaluate it and see if it works for you.
Exactly. And people are not going to begrudge you for taking time to make those decisions. They would rather you give them an honest answer than to have to not be in a place that you want to be in, not be with the person you want to be with, and also acting like you're doing somebody else a favor when you really don't want to. Because you know what? They know it. Right. They know when you say yes, when you want to say no. And you're not really helping the too often people say to me, well, I did it for the sake of the relationship. But in fact, you're not helping the relationship when you are not being true to yourself. And that also sort of circles around the issue of the mutuality. I believe it's very important to have relationships that are mutual. That doesn't mean that if I mow your lawn, you got to mow mine. That's not what it means. It means that the mutuality of the relationship is to the same extent when it comes to I care about you and you care about me. We don't need to show it in the same ways. We don't need to say, well, I spent 10 minutes with you on the phone, so you need to spend 10 minutes with me. It's not about that at all. It's not tit for tat. But what it is a consistency of mutuality where we both have the same amount of assertiveness with each other. I can tell you the truth. I can say, I really don't want to do that. I really choose not to do that. I'm not going to go there.
And that mutuality is that it's not one-sided, that one person is always calling, one person is always asking, one person is always offering, and the other one is just on the other end of the phone waiting, not doing anything.
And at the same time, there are people in our lives by virtue of who they are to us, if they're elderly, if they're someone that a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or someone who does need us. Like I said earlier in the half hour, we have all been needy. We've all been in that situation where we were the person who needed. And that is okay to recognize this person needs me, and it's not mutual in the sense of I'm taking her to the doctor and now I'm going to ask her. She's never going to be taking me to the doctor. She doesn't drive. But that's really not what the mutuality has to be about. It has to be about how do we feel about each other.
Well, and I think there's always exceptions, like you just said, if it's an older parent or an older neighbor, someone like that, that you might say yes to more often because you know for whatever reason that they truly do need some help, and there's exceptions to everything. So I wouldn't want everyone to think that there's never an exception to saying yes or no in any given situation. Does that make sense?
Of course, absolutely. And really what we're talking about here is when I say the mutuality part of it is if this is your parent or this is an elderly relative or this is somebody who needs you right now, there is a mutuality there. They love you. They've taken care of you. This is somebody who you want to be healthy and well, and you want to do everything you can for them. So, when you say yes to that, and you're doing it for a reason that makes complete sense to your life and your schedule, then there's nothing wrong with that. I am not in any way saying, say no and say it often. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying evaluate what makes sense for your life and make it count, and make sure that you are doing what you need to be doing vis-a-vis getting your life done as well. When we find ourselves saying yes too often to appease somebody else's needs and forgetting that we have responsibilities to ourselves and to our family members and to our coworkers and to the people that we supervise and the people who supervise us, all of those relationships take time, energy, thought, and we cannot be saying yes to others to the exclusion of tending to what we need to do and the people in our lives that we need to do.
Susan, that's a perfect ending. Thank you so much. I think another day with great advice.
Thank you, Iris.
For Susan Harf and Real Life, I'm Rose Martin. Please join us again next time.